I used to think playing a great drum solo meant having hundreds of ideas ready to go, just playing full tilt from start to finish and never repeating myself. But over time, I've learned there's no set formula for the perfect solo. And it's not about what ideas you play, it's about how you play them. So in this video, I want to share 5 concepts that have helped me completely reframe how I think about drum solos and hopefully unlock some new ideas for you too. The first point is less is more. For a long time, I used to try and play as many ideas as possible in my solos because I thought that will show how much variety there is in my playing, right? But the more I listened to my idols, I started realizing that a lot of the time, they have 1 or 2 themes or ideas which they stick to and do a whole heap of stuff with. And that is more interesting to listen to because then you're taken on a journey and you're given something to be attached to in the music. So they might play an idea a couple of times in between fills, and since that theme's been established, you as a listener are waiting for that idea to come back. And then it's like, there it is. You feel like you're part of the music and the journey because you're given something to relate to. Whereas when you hear a solo that has 20 completely different ideas, as a listener, you're like, that's cool. Oh, this other thing's cool. Oh, yeah, another idea. Okay, cool. But it doesn't seem to have a cohesive sound behind it. And there's a place in some musical situations for the lots of ideas solo. But more often than not, when we as drummers are given a couple minutes to just go for it, we want to tell a story on the drums, right? So having a theme or anchor can be great for this. So next time you do a practice session, work on limiting your solo to 1 or 2 ideas and see how much mileage you can get out of them. It'll force you to play different ideas, but they'll all be related to that core or key theme. Push the boundaries and then some. This is all about taking risks and pushing your musical limits. This one has taken me a while to get better at, and it's still an area I'm really trying to work on at the moment. Often when we're playing music with other musicians, someone might play an idea, and part or all of the band jumps on it. Whether it's a rhythm, texture, or vibe, as a listener, it's really cool to see the musicians lining up on something, because you can see cohesiveness and a conversation going on. Speaking from personal experience, sometimes this will happen, and maybe it's a rhythm that goes over the bar line or a displaced idea or something. When you jump on that rhythm, the safety of beat 1 and musical structure becomes a little less obvious. Now, this is cool because it creates tension in the music. Often, the longer you keep this tension going, the bigger the resolution is when you finally go back to the groove or musical bed that was laid before. But it can be easy to jump on an idea for a little bit and think, that was really cool, but it's getting a little dicey, so let's head back to the groove. But when we listen to our idols play music, and I'm talking largely in a jazz context here, but this also honestly applies to all styles of music, our idols seem so comfortable taking quote unquote risks. And to them, it might not even feel like risks since they've done it so much. But having this elasticity in the structure allows the music to travel to some pretty incredible places, which is engaging and interesting to listen to. So what I'm suggesting, and what I've been practicing myself, is the next time you play with your band or other musicians, and something happens in the music, when you're about to resolve back, just push that little bit further and see if you can extend the idea for just a smidge longer. Or another example, if you feel like you've hit the peak or pinnacle of your drum solo, stay there and see if you can take your solo up 1 degree further. It's okay if it doesn't work out, at least you know where your limit is in that specific realm of drumming ideas. And that's cool because it gives you a specific thing to work on in the practice room. This also doesn't have to be pushing the busy or intense musical ideas. Another example of this could be playing incredibly sparse, 1 cymbal every couple of bars. This can be scary, especially as drummers, because a lot of the time we are laying down the time, so this is taking a leap of faith and heavily trusting the other band members and your internal time feels. So push the boundaries and then some. And often what feels like the scariest or riskiest times in music is where the magical moments can happen. The next point is to reflect on your drum solos and playing in general, but I would highly recommend recording your gigs, rehearsals, and/or practice sessions. Then have a listen back, analyze, make adjustments, and move forwards. You might find, every time I play that thing, I always go to this thing, and I don't really like that thing. But that could just be a tendency that's been built in over time. And really, I think about practice and working on your skills and sound as a drummer in this way. It's always tiny little bite-sized tweaks that you're constantly putting in over many years that make you sound how you do today. You can be fairly relaxed about it and just get a general vibe like, I'm sounding a little sloppy when I play triplets, I want to work on tightening them up. Or you can go down the more hardcore route and analyze, okay, when I play this particular solo at this BPM in this style, I always have the same shape. Start on the snare, then bring in quarter notes on the hi-hat to keep time, then play triplets, then, move to sixteenths, finish with cymbals and big 6-stroke rolls. And I'm kind of speaking from experience here, as that was my go-to solo structure for a long time. But if you can have this awareness, then the next time your solo starts on that particular song, you might think, I'll start my solo by doing big crash hits and then some muted notes on the toms or something, just to completely mix it up. So record yourself, listen back, and make some written or mental notes. Or ask your drum teacher to give you some feedback to get a completely different opinion. Over time, you'll be able to influence your overall sound, which will contribute to your unique musical identity. The next idea is pace yourself. Have you ever played a drum solo and felt like it was a really long solo, but then when you listen back, it was actually quite short? I actually still get this quite a bit. In the moment, sometimes I get the thought, I'm taking quite a long solo here, or even I'm deciding to take a really long solo. But then I listen back after the gig and it was actually pretty short. When you see a really great solo, they can be 2, 5, or even 10 minutes long, but you're hooked the whole time. So why is that? Well, I think a large part of it is the pacing of the solo. It can be a common habit to play a couple of bars at gear 1, then skip to gear 3, and before you know it, you're at gear 10 blazing, and it's only been 20 seconds. So now you have to end your solo or stay at this gear without building it much further, which, can be a bit samey. So it's important to remember to give ourselves time. There's no rush, unless it's the last, song of the gig and everyone wants to go home. But to really let our ideas breathe. Play an idea and give yourself a second to listen to what just happened, then respond to that idea with intention. Remember, each solo you are telling a mini story. So I don't want to say, once upon a time, a bear ate dinner and then it rescued its family, the end. There's no build in that. It just skips to the climax of the story without taking you on a journey. So really try to be patient with your ideas, and that's a whole video in itself. Maybe I'll look into making that at some point. But the main takeaway is be patient, let your ideas bubble, and take your time. And you'll find if you pace yourself, the audience will respond well by being hooked on the development of your ideas, and they will want to go on that journey with you, which is a beautiful thing when you think of it in that way. This last concept really surprised me. I used to think repetition meant boring, like you don't have any language and that means everything sounds the same. But really, repetition is what helps connect your story or solo and gives the listener something to resonate with. Remember my terrible story about the bear? Well, let's give him a name. I ran some things through ChatGPT and came up with the name Groovepaw, which is actually an awesome name. Might have to write a song about this bear. Anyways, in a story, the name or word Groovepaw would probably come up a bunch of times. That's repetition. And each time we hear Groovepaw, it grows on us and we get a little more invested in the story about our bear friend. So you can think of this in the same way with musical ideas on the kit. Groovepaw could be a certain feel or musical phrase on the drums, and the surrounding words or other ideas are there to build a story around, but it's still focused around Groovepaw. And that's so much more interesting to listen to as an audience member because you feel like you're part of the story. So when you're in the practice room, have a go making up a drum solo with one idea that you keep repeating and or referencing throughout. This ties in really well with the less is more concept. The funny thing is, it's actually easier to repeat ideas and often sounds better than coming up with 30 unique ideas in a solo, which not only can sound very disjointed, but is also more difficult and gives the audience less of a theme to grab onto. So remember, repetition is okay and it's not the enemy, but actually your friend, whose name also happens to be Groovepaw. It also doesn't have to be an idea or phrase, it could be a subdivision, a drum surface, a groove, or a dynamic that you repeat over and over to develop your solo. So there's a few ways to think about drum solos from the more conceptual side of things. I hope you found it useful, and if you're looking for a few ways to learn new ideas on the drums, then check out this video here on how to do that.